Shalom, man. It's late night, but I've been doing some studying, man. Spirit put it on me to go live. So I'm going to go live and I'm going to talk about the inaccuracy of the 12 tribe sign, man. So it's been a lot going on in Israel, a lot of doctrines, a lot of things like that. I want to bring some clarity to a couple of doctrines and some knowledge, wisdom, and some understanding because it's a lot of different understanding out there. So I want to first and foremost say that believers of the way, bow, we do not deal with the 12 chart, all right, or the 12 tribe chart sign. Okay, we do not deal with it. And I'm going to give you an in-depth breakdown on why we don't deal with it. Now, we're going to deal with a couple of parts to this, all right? So, like I said, it's late night. These are prophet hours. So I'm just up studying in the spirit of the Mashiach. I want to say first and foremost, all praises to the spirit of the Mashiach. I hope he gives me understanding and wisdom as I bring this understanding out of why we don't deal with the 12 tribe chart. And it will be a part 2, part 3, and a part 4 to this. All right. Shalom, family. Top of the morning to you. There will be a part 1, right? Part 2, part 3, and a part 4 to this. Shalom to everybody that's online. All right. And I want to give a complete understanding of the breakdown in Genesis 49. And also we're going to tap into a little bit of Deuteronomy 33. Okay. So I was taught by my elders. Okay. My elders were taught the 12 tribe chart as well. From a lot of you may know as the original One West. Okay. Now the spirit was on them brothers, man. All praises. Shout out to the elders for bringing out certain understandings. But certain understandings that they brought out were not accurate according to the scriptures. So we're going to bring out truth. All right. And in us bringing out truth, we hope that everybody can get understanding. So let's get into it. I'm going to share my screen. All right. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Boom, boom. And we are going to get into it. All right. So the first scripture that I want to bring out, okay, the first scripture that I want to bring out is, we're going to get Isaiah. All right. Let's get Isaiah. Yeah. Okay. We're going to get Isaiah. All right. Because we want everything to be according to the commandments, according to the word, precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there a little. All right, Isaiah. And I'm going to get 8 and 20. All right, Isaiah 8 and 20. Okay, it says, to the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. So the first thing that we got to understand is that we want to speak according to this word. We don't want to add assumptions. We don't want to add what we feel. We don't want to add what we think. We want to speak according to the law and to the testimony. And if we don't speak according to this word, right, then there's no light in us. So that also goes with doctrines too. All right. Because what I do see is a lot of times what brothers do is a lot of brothers don't fact check brothers. Right. We got a lot of brothers that we love in Israel. Right. But we don't fact check a lot of the times. We don't go back to see, well, let me verify what that brother was saying, if it was true or not. Right. We don't go according to the law and to the testimony. Right. We just listen and take what people say a lot of the times. OK. And it's a lot of doctrines out there like that, with the Star of David. We're going to deal with the Star of David in one point in the future, near future. And we're going to deal with today, we're going to deal with the chart. All right. So the chart is brothers feeling where they're from, right? And trying to put their emotions and their feelings and trying to link it up with geographical locations. We're going to see why that is flawed within the scriptures. So let's go to Genesis 49. All right. So we're going to go to Genesis 49. Okay. Genesis 49. All right. And we'll start at verse 1. Okay. So, brothers do is they do this, right? This is Genesis 49. This is when we get into the blessings that Jacob gave to the 12 tribes of Israel. This is where majority of the foundation of the 12 tribe chart comes from. Okay. So it says, and Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days. So brothers automatically, they see this word last days and they say, oh, yep, see, that's automatically talking about the last days, the end. See, it says last days there. So it got to be talking about us in the last days, but that will be absolutely wrong. What that would be is a lot of times in Israel, we have what's called scriptural misappropriation. Okay, misappropriation, which is using a scripture because it says the same word. This is why brothers need to learn how to precept. Using a scripture because it says a word like a phrase, last days, that this is automatically talking about the last days of time, right? I'm going to show you where that view is flawed and it's incorrect. I'm going to show you that in just a second. But the first thing I want to do is, well, actually, let's go there now. Let's go to, let me show you, let me give you an example of how that will be flawed, right? So let's go to Joel. Let's go to Joel 2. Okay, I'm going to show you guys. So just because you see the word last days, right, does not mean it automatically is attributed to the last days of end times. Okay, you have to use the precepts and properly categorize and properly precept the scriptures. All right, because that's what brothers do all the time. I see it all the time in Israel. We'll take a scripture and we'll say, oh yeah, this is what it means because I see the word last days, right? So let's get an example of why that wouldn't be accurate. Let's go to Joel. Let me show you an example of how that's not always 100% true, right? And we'll go to Joel. All right, and I want 2 and 27. Okay, so look at this. It says, and ye shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I am the Lord your God, and none else. And my people shall never be ashamed. And it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams. Your young men shall see visions. Okay, so it says that our old men shall see visions. Right now, the word I want to pay attention to in this is the word afterwards. Okay, afterward. So what does that mean, afterward? Okay, and when was this prophecy? Right, when was this prophecy actually seen in the scriptures to be fulfilled? Okay, because a lot of people can say this and say, yeah, it could be attributed to the last days. We are waking up in the last days, but it specifically got fulfilled within the scriptures. So I'm going to show you how afterwards, that word afterwards, right? Or something. Acts 2, and let's start at 1. Okay, so this is Acts 2. So when was that in Joel fulfilled? I'm going to show you how afterwards, last days, words like that, it is speaking of the last days. I'm going to show you. We can get the precept, right? But I'm going to show you that it was already fulfilled within the scriptures. So just because it says last days does not mean that it automatically has to be in the end times, right? So it says, and when the day of Pentecost was fully come, they were all with one accord in one place. So this is the day of Pentecost. So let's go ahead and go down. Let's get to the point. Let's go to verse 5, okay? And we're going to read 5, and we'll read 5 through 12. And there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven. So we're familiar with this, okay? It says, now when this was noised abroad, the multitude came together and were confounded, because that every man heard them speak in his own language. All right. So let's go to verse 12. Okay. Let's go to verse 12. It says, and they were all amazed and were in doubt, saying one to another, what meaneth this? Others mocking said, these men are full of new wine. Okay, so it's like, man, these men are full of new wine. Verse 14, but Peter, standing up with the 11, lifted up his voice and said unto them, ye men of Judea, and all ye that dwell at Jerusalem, be this known unto you, and hearken to my words. For these are not drunken, as ye suppose, seeing it is but the third hour of the day. But, excuse me, this is that which was spoken by the prophet Joel. And it shall come to in the last days. Now you see that word last days? Okay. Now you see in Joel the actual translation in Joel says afterward, but it's attributed to last days. And it says, and it shall come to pass in the last days, says God, I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh. But you can see here, last days does not just mean the end times. Last days could mean just a latter time, because as you know, this is the 1st century AD that this is all taking place, right? And it's referenced as the last days. It doesn't automatically have to mean that it's the last days, the end of time, which is the times we living in, right? Last days could just simply mean a latter time, okay? As we're seeing an example of that, okay? Because this is a prophecy that is happening at real time in the Feast of Pentecost in Acts chapter 2. So when you go back, so now let's go back. Let's go back to Genesis. All right. So now when you go back to Genesis 49:1 and you say, oh, so last days, it does not always mean the end times. It can simply mean a latter time. Okay. Let's go to Hebrews. Show you guys this. Show you guys another one more scripture on this. All right. Because the brothers go off, right? Scriptural misappropriation, man, at its finest, right? This is Hebrews 2:1. It says, have in these last days. See, it says in these last days. This was in the book of Hebrews. This is during the time of Paul. It says in these last days. So it wasn't talking about, there's different times of last days. There's a different time period dealing with the last days. You have the last days in the 1st century AD. You got the last days in 2020. But all in all, last days does not automatically just mean the last days of 2020. The last days of 2019. It doesn't always mean that, okay? Last days simply means a latter time. Has in these last days spoken unto us by his Son, whom he have appointed heir of all things, by whom also he made the world. So you see that last days there, okay? So let's go back to Genesis. So when you go to Genesis 49:1, it does not always have to mean last days in times in 2020 in the day we're living in. It can simply just mean latter times, okay? Latter days, okay? So now, I wanted to get that taken care of, because a lot of people, they use that to try to say, well, it has to be our time because it says last days. No, last days can just simply mean latter times. Okay, so now let's get into some more of it. Okay, this is a one big flaw within the nation of Israel today with the 12 tribe chart, man. And I have to be honest. I have to be honest with this. I cannot lie with this, because it causes brothers to go off, man. You know, brothers start getting high-minded. They start saying, I'm from this tribe, I'm from that tribe, I'm the head tribe, I'm this. And also the chart throws a lot of people off because Israel's scattered all over. So if they don't see their name on that chart, well, how do I know, or who am I in Israel, right? It could be very discouraging. So let's get numbers. Let's see how Israel, right, according to the scriptures and not opinion, let's see how Israel was reckoned in the scriptures. How did Israel tell who they were according to specific tribes? All right. So we're going to go to Numbers 1:18. Okay. And this is how the scriptures say that we determine who we are, right? You determine your nationality not by landmass. You don't determine your nationality or who you are as far as specific tribe groups by the areas you dwell in, because that's what the 12 tribe chart is comprised of, the areas that we dwell in. This is where we dwell. Oh, they fit this narrative. They dwell here. This is who they are. Well, the scripture says, and they assemble all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names from 20 years old and upward by their polls. So the scripture says you determine your who you are by the house of your father. Okay, by the house of your father. Okay, now this is important because we're going to see in a time period of history where it happened, where we had brothers that couldn't show their fathers, right? They were polluted from the priesthood. Okay, and we're going to get that. Let's get, before we go on, let's go to Chronicles. Okay, all right, because I really want to get this, man, because a lot of brothers is going off with this, and it's important because it makes Israel lift up the head. You know, you got to give me this respect because I'm a priest, but then you can't even prove, according to the scriptures or according to any type of genealogy, how you're a priest, right? Or I'm of the line of the kings. Well, how do you know that, right? We don't know. You can't prove what tribe you are from, right? And then we're going to get that, right? So watch this. First Chronicles 9:1. So all Israel were reckoned by genealogies, and behold, they were written in the book of the kings of Israel and Judah, who were carried away in Babylon for their transgression. So all Israel is reckoned by genealogy. Now you might have people out there, well, how do we determine that we're actually Israelites? I'm going to go into a lesson dealing with that too, because you actually, in determining who is actually the children of Israel, right? And that'll be a whole lesson in itself. We have instances where we know, we have maps, we have migration patterns, we have areas of where the nation of Israel was. We can prove that we were scattered in Africa. We can prove that we dwelt in Africa for a period of 1,000 years. We can prove that the 10 tribes migrated over here into the Americas. We can prove that with archaeology. We can prove that with historical proof, and we can back that up with scripture, but historical proof. There's no historical proof or references that I have ever seen, right, that I personally have ever seen or even seen anybody bring out to say, yes, the tribe of Issachar knew who they were, they had their records, and they moved here and dwelt here. I haven't seen that, right? And if you have that, share it with me. But I haven't seen that. So I can't go on with that to say that, because it says all Israel's reckoned by genealogies. Okay? Now your genealogy, all right, who is your genealogy determined by? Right? We just seen your pedigree. Your pedigree is determined by your father, right? So let's get Ezra real quick. Ezra, gonna break it all the way down. All right, up late night studying, right? And I just felt compelled to do this lesson. 59, Ezra 2, 59 to 62. Let's get this. All right. Okay, we're going to start at verse 59. And these were they which went up from Telamah, Tel Harsha, Cherub, Adon, and Emir, but they could not show their father's house and their seed, whether they were of Israel, right? So it says that they couldn't show their father's house and their if they were of Israel. Okay, let's just skip down to 62. All right, so these particular people, right, they sought it, and it says these sought their registry among those that were reckoned by genealogy, but they were not found. Therefore were they as polluted, put from the priesthood. So it didn't say that they kicked them out of the nation of Israel, but these particular individuals that couldn't show their fathers, because remember, only the line of Aaron, right? Aaron, which comes from the line of Levi, right, could minister in the temple. So if they couldn't show their registry, they couldn't show who they were. They couldn't go off of feeling. They had to actually prove who they were, because there's strict commandment dealing with who can minister in the priesthood. So since they couldn't show that, they were polluted from the priesthood. They were polluted from the priesthood duties. And you got a lot of brothers that say they're Levites, they're priests, but then they can't show their fathers. See, we're dealing with the scriptures. We're not dealing with opinion. We're not dealing with popularity and doctrine. All right. I would never, ever deal with popularity and doctrine. I'm going to always deal with what the scriptures say. And the scriptures show me an example of claiming to be a part of the priesthood, but couldn't show their fathers. Didn't say they were kicked out of the land of Israel, but they were polluted from the priesthood. They couldn't be a part of, because like we can't take that gamble that you might be a priest. Man, the Most High destroys. So why are brothers taking that same gamble today, right? With the priesthood. I'm from this, I'm from that, with no record whatsoever that we actually come, all right, from that line. Now let's go to Jeremiah. Okay, now follow me, brothers. All right, I'm gonna break it down, and I hope somebody can find edification with this. So we're gonna get Jeremiah, and I want chapter 17, and I want verse 4. This is why we don't deal with the 12 tribes. Jeremiah 17:4. And thou, even thyself, shall discontinue from thy heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thy enemies in the land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in my anger. We discontinue from that, right? So that means that we won't have our forefathers went off in wickedness, all right, and they were scattered all over. So seeing that Zechariah 7:14, Hosea 8:8, we're scattered all over. How can we even say that we are who's who when Israel is scattered amongst the nations as a whirlwind, right? And we discontinue from our heritage. So scripturally, you can't scripturally prove to me who you are according to Genesis 49. We're going to get the true, accurate understanding of Genesis 49, right? We're going to get the false, wrong way that brothers take Genesis 49, and we're going to go into the correct way of how you're supposed to view Genesis 49, all right? And it's going to be very clear cut, and we're going to use the scriptures. Remember, we just brought it out. If you speak not according to this word, right? We're going to speak according to this word, okay? So it says we will discontinue from our heritage. Also, all right, let's get First Maccabees. First Maccabees, and I want verse First Maccabees 1:56. We'll start at 56 all the way down 57. Get to the point. All right. First Maccabees 1:56. All right. First Maccabees 1:56. It says, and when they had rent in pieces the books of the law, which they found, they burnt them with fire. And we know that heathen nations always destroy our books, our records, right? When you read that Psalms, I believe it's 81 or 82, says that they use crafty counsel, right? And they thought to cut us off as a nation, all right? They thought to cut us off as a nation. So they will always destroy our records. They will always destroy our books, and they will always try to destroy the law. And through the power of the Mashiach, the scriptures were translated through time after time after time. But nonetheless, our history was stolen from us. All right. It says, and whosoever was found with any of the book of the testament, or if any committed to the law, the king's commandment was that they should be put to death. So we see that in history. So our records have been destroyed. We know that, right? That's what the scripture says. We know in part, we prophesy in part, because we don't know everything. All right. And the scriptures have been abridged. All right. When you read the prologue in Sirach, all right, scriptures have been abridged and translated over time with painstaking work, the best that they could. But we don't have everything. All right. We know in part, we prophesy in part. So it's okay, brothers, that we don't have the information of what tribe we're in. All right. That's okay. We don't have to push a narrative and then condemn people for saying, well, we're this tribe, you have to pay homage to me, pay tithes to me, do this, do that, because I'm of this tribe and I'm of that. When we start doing that, then we're going off, because there's no way that you can prove what is what and who is who. There's no way, right? And we're going to get the correct understanding, all right, of Genesis 49. So let's go back to Genesis 49. All right. So back to Genesis 49. Okay. So we already got this. And Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days. We got that. Last days does not mean in 2020. Does not always have to mean in our time. It could just mean a latter day, as we seen that in example with Joel 2 and Acts 2. All right. So verse 2, it says, gather yourselves together and hear, ye sons of Jacob, and hearken unto Israel your father. So this is a prophecy. Let's get into it. Reuben. All right. I want to get into Reuben first. Okay. When you see Reuben, okay, let's get it real quick. Bear with me. Bear with me. Let's go here real quick. I want to show you guys okay, a map. Let's go here. Here it is right here. Sorry about that. So here it is right here. I'm going to show this is a map that I got, from the brothers IUIC, right? They say Reuben. Let's go here. Where's Reuben? Here he is right here. They say Reuben is the Seminole Indians. All right. Say Reuben is the Seminole Indians, right? And they say Reuben is the Seminole Indians because, let's read the scriptures. Go back. Let's read. Reuben is the Seminole Indians because of this. Let's read. Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity, and the excellency of power. So they say, the Seminole Indians, they were very dignified people, and they were dignified in their clothing, and they had phylacteries, and they had royal apparel, and they were the only ones that didn't sell out to Esau and create a situation of signing a peace treaty, right? This is what they say. Okay, this is what they say. All right. But we're going to get the true understanding of what this means. Okay, we're going to get the true understanding. These are some of the things that they say, but I'm going to give you the true understanding of this scripture, because this scripture, it did happen, and it's shown within the scripture. So it says, Reuben, thou art my firstborn. So Reuben, right, which comes from the word, or in the Hebrew, Rahaban, okay, Reuben, which is Rahaban, which is Ra, to see, and Ban, a son, okay, Rahaban, to see a son, which is what Reuben means. So when it says, thou art my firstborn, my might, the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity, and the excellency of power, this is just because Reuben was the firstborn son, okay? He was the firstborn son of Jacob, all right? And let's get that. This is why he said that. Let's get the scriptures. This is why he was saying that, all right? So let's get Genesis, all right? And we're going to go to 29. So this does not have anything to do with the Seminole Indians, because I'm going to give you a fun fact about the Seminole Indians too, all right? Matter of fact, let's get it now. Seminole Indians. Let me get this fun fact for you. Now, that's why brothers have to do their research, right? Before I go into the true understanding of what that scripture is talking about, look, got to look this up. How do you know the Seminole Indians is Reuben when the Seminole Indians were formed in the 1700s from several other tribes, several different Native American tribes? The Seminole tribe was formed out of people from several other tribes in the 1700s. The main people were the Southern Creek, who left Georgia to find safer lands. People from other tribes joined them, and they became known as the Seminoles. So how in the hell are we saying the whole Seminole tribe, the whole Seminole nation, the Indian nation is Reuben, when they're mixed up themselves? They're scattered and mixed and mingled within different various Native American tribes. So how the hell can we say that when they're even mixed up? Just even within that specific tribe, they're mixed up. It wouldn't make any logical sense. to group them together when they're different tribes. All right, so that's a fun fact. Look into this. Look into this. That's why brothers got to go study instead of hearing what your favorite teacher says and running with it, or just hearing what a brother that you admire and running with it. You cannot do that. Because how do you explain that several different tribes make up the Seminole tribe? So the Seminole Indian tribe is not even an original Native American tribe. It's a made up tribe with several different tribes in the 1700s. So how can you just say the Seminole Indians are Reuben? You can't do that. That'd be you just saying what it is and not going into the scriptures and the history to verify who's who, right? So let's get the true understanding. So Genesis 49 is speaking about, says Reuben, firstborn, right? Let's get that. The excellency of dignity, excellency of power. What does that mean? Okay. What was Jacob saying? Let's get this. Genesis 29 and 32. Because you got to understand what it means when you're a firstborn. And Leah conceived and bare a son, and she called his name Reuben, right? So it says he called his son Reuben, named Reuben. For she said, surely the Lord have looked upon my afflictions. Now, therefore, my husband will love me. Because when you have a son, right? A son is a beautiful thing because a son passes down your seed line. The son passes down and keeps your seed alive. The son is supposed to represent you. The son is your strength. All right. So, and Leah said, I've conceived a son. My husband will love me because having a son is a great joy. And this was his firstborn son. All right. Let's get some more. All right. So this is what this is talking about. We're going to go precept upon precept. All right. Line upon line. Okay. Here a little, there a little. We're not going to go off of assumptions. Let's go off the scriptures of what this is explaining. So this is a true understanding. Let's go to Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy 21:15. All right. It says, if a man have two wives, one beloved and another hated, and they have borne him children, both the beloved and the hated, both the beloved and the hated, and if the firstborn son be heir that was hated. So you got a son, right? You got a son. Let's go to verse 16. You have two sons. Okay. And one that hated has the firstborn son, and the one that you love doesn't. It doesn't matter. It says what? Then it shall be when he maketh his sons to inherit that which he hath, that he may not make the son of the beloved firstborn before the son of the hated, which is indeed the firstborn. So that's the law of the firstborn. The firstborn is the one that's supposed to get the inheritance. The firstborn is the one that's supposed to be held in great dignity. All right. This is what this is talking about, because he's the firstborn. He's the beginning of the father's strength. Okay. And he's supposed to get the inheritance. All right. So this is what that's referencing. This is not talking about like Seminole Indians, which were a mixed group of native tribes already. So you already cut with that, because the Seminole Indians, how you know who's a Seminole Indian? Seminole Indian is just a conglomerate of different native tribes. So how do you know which every native tribe that's the conglomerate of that tribe, Seminole Indians, are comprised of that specific nation that was created in 1700s, is of what tribe and who's who? You don't even have any proof to back that up, to back that claim up, right? Of specific tribes. And like I said, I'm going to get into a lesson going in detail to how we know where Israel is and who's Israel. But as far as specific tribes, you don't have any scriptural backing on that. All right. And this is what this is talking about. So Reuben is the firstborn. He's the excellency, and the dignity of his father, because he is the firstborn. Let's get Genesis 37:21. Let's get why he was also dignified as well. All right. So we're going to get Genesis let's get why Reuben was also dignified as well. All right, this doesn't have anything to do with the Seminole Indians. All right, brothers. Let's get Genesis 37 and 21. All right. So let's go here. All right. So this, if anybody's familiar with this is when Joseph was being sold. Okay, which is when his brothers came against Joseph and threw him in a ditch, right? But they wanted to actually kill Joseph. Let's read verse 21 for context. 20 for context. Come now, therefore. So this is Genesis 37:21. Come now, therefore, and let us slay him. So they want to kill our brother Joseph was about to fall in the hands of his brothers. They wanted to slay him. They hated him so much, that much they hated him, and cast him into some pit. So they want to kill him and throw him in a pit. And we will say, some evil beast has devoured him, and we shall see what will become of his dreams, right? But what did Reuben say? Reuben held himself in dignity, because Reuben said dignity is in respect and doing what's right. It says, and Reuben heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands and said, let us not kill him, right? And Reuben said unto them, shed no blood, but cast him into this pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him out of their hands, right? To deliver him to his father again. See, this is why Reuben was dignified. Reuben was dignified because he tried to save Joseph out of the hands of his evil brothers at the time, right? This is why he had great dignity. Not because the Seminole Indians, which were already mixed several different native tribes that we don't even know what tribes they come from. So they're already mixed themselves, but not because they have phylacteries and they dress nice and they held themselves in great dignity. They didn't bow down to Esau. And it's not talking about that. Literally, the scriptures explain what it's talking about. If brothers just read the scriptures precept upon precept, then brothers will understand this. This is why we don't deal with the 12 tribe chart. All right, we don't deal with it because it's too many flaws. And this is the correct understanding of this. Okay, Genesis 49. All right, so this is why Reuben was held in great dignity. All right, because he wanted to deliver his brother from the hands of his other brothers. All right, so Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might and the beginning of my strength. We know that the firstborn is the beginning of the strength. Right, we've got those precepts. He was excellent and he was of great dignity, right? Excellency of power, because he is the firstborn. And also, he showed great characteristics of being a dignified person by trying to save his brother. All right, but let's read verse 4. Unstable as water, thou shalt not excel, because thou wentest up to thy father's bed. Then defileth thou it. He went up to my couch. So let's get the understanding of this. Let's see what happened. Reuben, or Rahaban, okay, he went and laid with his father's wife. Let's get that. Genesis, and this is why he didn't get the blessing. All right. Genesis 35. Okay. Hope everybody's following me. And 21. And we'll read 21 and 22. All right. Precept upon precept, line upon line. So all of these prophecies happened, right, in the latter times. Not last days in 2020, right? But latter times. You see that he actually, we're going to go through the scriptures and show you that he actually didn't get what was coming to him. And that was, he was supposed to be the king. The line of kings was supposed to go through Reuben, but it didn't. It got passed down to Judah. So it says, in Israel journeyed and spread his tent beyond the tower of Edar. And it came to pass, when Israel dwelt in that land, that Reuben went to lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine. And Israel heard it. Now the sons of Jacob were 12. See, so he laid with his father's wife, okay, Bilhah. And this is why he got cursed in a sense, because of this transgression that he committed against his father. All right, because we know what Leviticus 18 says. Leviticus 18 and 8 tells you that you cannot lay with your father's wife. Okay, that's Leviticus 18 and 8. And this is what Reuben did. All right, and this is why Reuben is said to be unstable, because of this transgression that he committed against his father, went into his father's couch. Okay, so also he's unstable. Let's get Judges. All right, got to get history. All right, but first let's go back and let's read that again, verse 4. All right, and it says, unstable as water, thou shalt not excel, right? Because thou wentest up to thy father's bed. Thou defiledst, defiledst thou it. He went up to my couch, right? So we see that, right? He's also unstable. Why? Because it's a particular thing that happened with the nation of Reuben in the book of Judges. So let's get Judges. I'm going to get Judges. Judges, and I'm on verse 5, 15. So we already got enough to disprove the chart by brothers not being able to show their fathers, right? Can't show, and your your tribe is not determined by your land or where we're at now in America. That does not determine who you are. All throughout the scriptures tell us that we are determined by our seed line, right? Now, it'll be different if you found a scripture that said we will be determined by the land of our captivity. That then I'll be like, okay, well, our tribe will be determined by the land of our captivity. You got something there. But there's no scripture that says that. You don't have anything. Brothers have to let go of certain doctrines that have been taught. All right. Our elders, they were great men, brilliant men, but some of the things that they did and they taught were not right. Okay. And this is why you see cats like the Egyptologists back in the day, right? Like in 2014, 2015, the Egyptologist cats, them weak ass cats, will always come and attack the 12 tribe chart and make Israel look foolish because you can't really prove it. Right. And there's the scriptures, right, verify otherwise what this is talking about. That happened already, which we went into the word last days and latter times, dealing with it just means latter days. Okay. So here it is right here. It says, and the princes of Issachar were with Deborah. So this is during the time of Deborah, and we were going to go fight against our enemies, right? It says, even Issachar and also Barak. He was sent on foot into the valley. For the divisions of Reuben, there were great great thoughts of heart. So Reuben at this time, they had mixed emotions about this situation. All right, they had mixed emotions. They were unstable, right? They didn't know what they wanted to do. They didn't know if they wanted to participate or not, and they didn't know in this history. Go read Judges 5 on your own. Read the whole Judges 5 on your own. This is how he was unstable. He was unstable because he lay with his father's wife, and he was unstable through this history in Judges that you can go verify and read more about. All right, so we got to stop scriptural misappropriation. All right, we got to stop that. Meaning taking scriptures and trying to fit it to a false narrative or falsely precepting scriptures. All right. So that's the understanding in Genesis 49 and dealing with Reuben. All right. So now let's deal with Simeon and Levi. Okay. They say Simeon and Levi are the Dominicans. Well, Simeon is the Dominicans. Say Levi are the Haitians. All right. This is what the chart says. All right. So let's verify that. And it's crazy how simple this is. Right. And this is why they say it. They say Simeon and Levi are brethren, instruments of cruelty in their habitations. Right. They say, wow, Simeon and Levi, the instruments of cruelty is black arts, the black magics, and the voodoo and all of that. They say the voodoo is the Haitians. Levi deals with voodoo, and Santeria is the Dominicans, right? So they deal in voodoo, okay? And it says, "Oh my soul, come not thou into their secrets." The secrets is the secret arts of voodoo. This is the breakdown that they say. Crazy, like the Haitians and Dominicans, the only ones that practice voodoo. What about what is it? Day de Mortis, the Day of the Dead. I don't know if I said that right. In Mexico, about the Mexicans. The Mexicans practice the Day of the Dead, right? Every year. Do you see how elementary like these breakdowns are? And brothers just run with this because it just sounds good about to them in the ear because their favorite teacher, but they don't go verify. How can we say that Simeon and Levi, oh, because they do witchcraft? But I'm just gonna use the Mexicans. In Mexico, they do witchcraft. All the different tribes do witchcraft. The Native Americans over here, they was doing hella witchcraft. Multiple tribes over here was doing human sacrifices and all of that. All right, for other gods. That's witchcraft too. And you had the back in a lot of different Native American tribes had like, in the teepees, you go see the witch doctor and all that, to go in there and do some seances and all that. That's all in Native American history too. So how can we just subject Simeon and Levi and say, and this is not even what it's talking about, first of all. This is absolutely not even what it's talking about. But we're going to get the correct understanding. But this is what they say. This is what they say. And just really think about it, brothers. Like, get your favorite teacher, get men out your mind. Think about what they're really saying. Like, it makes no sense. It literally makes no sense to just say the Haitians and Dominicans, they do witchcraft, so that's why they Simeon and Levi. All right. And they also, don't worry, we're going to also talk about how they divided their lands too. We're going to get all that, right? It says, for in their anger, they slew a man. They slew a man is them doing witchcraft, making voodoo dolls, breaking the leg and all that. Killing. They do a lot of evil stuff, right? And in their self-will, they dig down a wall, okay? All right. So let's get what this is, right? It says, curse be their anger, for it was fierce. Their witchcraft is fierce, and their wrath, for it was cruel. They do cruel witchcraft, voodoo, put a hex on you. I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel. So when it says I will divide them in Jacob and I will scatter them in Israel, what is it talking about? They say that this is talking about, oh, well, they're divided. They're on two different islands. You got the Haitians on one side of the island, the Dominicans on another side of the island. But if that ain't even talking about, that says scattered them in Israel. It's not even talking about over here in the Americas. That says scattered them in Israel. So we got to go into the scriptures to verify that and see when they were scattered in Israel. That means that it doesn't just mean that they are on two opposite sides of an island. That makes no sense. That if that was the case, it said they got to be scattered where we at, because it says scattered them in Israel. They supposed to be scattered all throughout Israel. But let's get the correct understanding, man, brothers. Let's get the correct understanding. So Simeon and Levi are brethren, instruments of cruelty in their habitation. So let's get this understanding. All right, this is the true understanding. What do I want? I want let's get Genesis. No, actually, let's get Romans. No, I want to hold off on. Let's get Genesis 34. Genesis 34. All right, brothers got to stop with holding on to these doctrines, man, that cannot be verified, and we create these false doctrines, false narratives. Now, I'm not saying you can't have feel like you're connected to a specific tribe when you read through the scriptures. Like, for instance, me, in my heart, I feel like I'm connected to the tribe of Benjamin. That's just me. And it's a story behind that. I feel that way because when I first came into the truth, Most High awakened me, and I went to the bathroom early in the morning, kind of at the same time, actually, because I stay up early in the morning, I study late at night, and I found the truth, got the truth. I went to the bathroom and I looked at myself in the mirror, and something within inside of me said, I'm from the tribe of Benjamin. Now, this was before I even knew everything about the tribes, but something within me said, I'm from the tribe of Benjamin. Now, that's my spirit. That's my feeling. I felt that. I do feel a connection when I read about the Benjamites, right? But at the end of the day, I can't verify that. So I'm not going to say just because I feel that way that this is exactly who I am and you got to accept me for that. No, I can't prove it, but I can feel like that all I want, but I cannot prove it. All right. I cannot prove it. So I'm not going to go and teach brothers and say, this is what it is. All right. So what was the cruelty that they did? All right. Let's get this. All right. So Genesis 34, let's start at verse 11. And Shechem said unto her father and unto her brethren, let me find grace in your eyes, and what ye shall say unto me, I will give. So this is dealing with Dinah, okay? And she got raped, all right, by the men of Shechem, by one of Shechem's sons, all right? And Shechem is like, look, can I have her as my wife? All right, can I have her as my wife, right? And then it says, ask me never so much dowry and gift, and I will give according as ye shall say unto me, but give me the damsel to wife. And the sons of Jacob answered Shechem and Hamor, his father, deceitfully. All right. So Shechem wanted Dinah, okay, as his wife, and said, because he had defiled Dinah, their sister, and they said unto them, we cannot do this thing to give our sister to one that is uncircumcised, for that were a reproach unto us. So we're going to get why the cruelty in Simeon and Levi. But in this we will consent unto you, if ye will be as we be, that every male of you be circumcised. So they was like, look, man, we don't know, man. We're not gonna, give you her, but on one cause, just get circumcised. If you get circumcised, all the men of your city will give you our sister. Verse 15. But in this we will consent unto you, if ye will be as we be, even every male of you be circumcised, then will we give our daughters unto you, and we will take your daughters to us, and we will dwell with you, and we will become one people. But if ye will not hearken unto us to be circumcised, we will take our daughter, and we will be gone. So they was like, look, you got to get circumcised. Now let's see what happened after this. Let's go down and let's read verse 25. All right. Let's get verse 25. So it's like, Shechem in all your house, get circumcised, and you can have our sister. Right? Why were they instruments of cruelty? Okay. It says, and it came to pass on the third day. All right. So this is verse 35, same chapter. And it came to pass on the third day, when they were sore, that two of the sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brethren, took each man his sword and came upon the city boldly and slew all the males. See? So it says, and slew all the males. They came with a sword and they slew all the males of the city. Verse 26. And they slew Hamor and Shechem, his son, with the edge of the sword, and took Dinah out of Shechem's house and went out. You see that? So they slew, right, all the men of the city. And not only did they do that, this is instruments of cruelty. We're going to get the precepts. The sons of Jacob came upon the slain and spoiled the city, because they had defiled their sister. So they took all the spoils of the city. It says they took their sheep and their oxen and their asses, and that which was in the city, and that which was in the field. Okay? It says, and all their wealth, and all their little ones, and their wives took they captive, and spoiled even all that was in the house. So they killed everybody. They killed everybody, and they didn't take no prisoners, and they took the men and women and children, right? So this was a cruel thing, because later you see, watch this. This was the cruelty that Jacob was talking about, because watch what Jacob said. This was a shameful thing that they did. This was not a good thing. Oh, yeah, the brothers did right. They killed the heathens. No, this was not a wise thing. We're going to get it through the precepts. It says, because look at what Jacob says. And Jacob said unto Simeon and Levi, ye have troubled me to make me to stink among the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites and the Perizzites, and I being few in number, they shall gather themselves together against me and slay me, and I shall be destroyed, I and my house. So the thing that they did, Jacob frowned upon that. He said, man, look, what y'all did, y'all gonna end up causing me to go to war with the nations round about me. Y'all can't just be going crazy and just killing brothers like that. Y'all didn't even seek proper guidance or counsel. So when we go back, let's go back to Genesis 49. All right. It says, oh, my soul, come not thou into their secret. The secret was, they secretly was like, we about to kill Shechem and all his nation for doing that, right? Until their assembly, right? It says the instruments of cruelty were their habitations. Oh, my soul, come not thou into their secret, unto their assembly, my honor. Be not thou united. For in their anger they slew a man. Who did they kill? They slew a man. Who did they slew? They slew Shechem and his whole house. And in their safe will, they digged down a wall and they killed the whole city and took the spoils. That's what it's talking about. It's not talking about no damn voodoo and witchcraft and their secret witchcraft and they slew a man and put voodoo hexes on them. That's not even what that's talking about. That's pure example of how scriptures, brothers misuse the scriptures. Not even talking about that. It's talking about what they did to Shechem, right? And Jacob did not like it, as we read. So he cursed them. He says, cursed be their anger. It says, cursed be their anger, because what they did, it risked, all right? It risked them going and wiping out the whole seed line of their brothers. All right, Jacob said, man, we could have went to war with all of the whole nation around us for what you guys did, because you guys didn't even get my approval for what you guys did. You didn't even come to me. You just went off of your heart. Let's get Psalms 119. Psalms 119 and 12. All right. Okay. Who can understand his errors? Cleanse thou me from secret faults. You see that? So this was an error that they did, right? Because they committed a secret fault. They used this secret and then they committed the fault. The secret was, once they got circumcised, they was going to go and kill everybody, possibly putting their brothers and their sister at risk to get annihilated, right? Cleanse thou me from thy secret faults. Because what does the scripture say? Let's get this real quick. Proverbs. All right, so this is how you get knowledge, wisdom, and understanding by the scriptures. We don't have to fit. You see how I'm not fitting anything? I'm not trying hard to fit a narrative. I'm just simply going to the precepts. And a lot of this is shown already and fulfilled already within the tribes. So let's get Proverbs. And I want 1 and 10. Let's get 1 and 10. So this is what that scripture is talking about. 10, and I'll read, let's see, I'll read through 16. All right. Look at this. My son, if sinners entice thee, consent thou not. If they say, come with us, let us lay wait for blood. Let us lurk privately for the innocent without cause. See, they killed the whole city. They didn't kill Shechem in his house. They killed the whole city. Innocent blood was shed, right? That's why I was like, Abraham was like, y'all did that for what, man? Like, y'all didn't even, that's why he frowned upon that. It says, let us swallow them up alive as the grave. That's what they did. They went, they swallowed the Shechem and his people up alive in a grave, right? and whole as those that go down into the pit. We shall find all precious substance. And they took the substance. They ransacked the city after they killed everybody and took the women and the children, right? We shall fill our houses with spoils, took the spoils, took the sheep, took the cow, took all of that. Verse 14, cast in thy lot among us. Let us all have one purse. My son, walk thou not thou in the way with them, refrain thy foot from their path, for their feet run to evil and make haste to shed blood. You see that? Feet run to do evil and make haste. They made haste because they didn't get proper counsel, right? This is what this is talking about. This is why Jacob was just angry at them, and this is why he said what he said. Let's get that. Proverbs 20. Let's get that. What are you supposed to do in every matter? Let's get that. Proverbs 20 and verse 18. Proverbs 20 and 18. Proverbs chapter 20 and 18 says, every purpose is established by counsel, and with good advice make war. It says with good advice make war. They didn't even go get they totally missed this. They just went and made war. Scripture says in all things, go get advice. They could have been the downfall of Israel. And that's why Jacob was upset with them. All right. I want Sirach, and I want Ecclesiasticus or Sirach 8 and 15. We got to study, man. Brothers, y'all got to study and verify. Prove what I'm saying. Brothers, don't just believe everything your teachers of Israel say, man. Even me, go study it. Go figure it out. Don't just automatically run with it. Right? This is what I do. I don't just run with what brothers say. Brothers got to go verify what brothers be saying, man. And that's just to keep yourself safe. Even me, I'm not exempt. Right? Verse 15. So this is Proverbs. All right. Excuse me. Sirach, Ecclesiasticus 8 and 15. Travel not by the way with a bold fellow, lest he become grievous unto thee, for he will do according to his own will, and thou shalt perish with him through his folly. See that? It says, travel not with the bold fellow. Right? In that instance, they were bold fellows. We about to go slay them. We about to go lay hand, man. We about to kill. How's a bold fellow move? It says, travel not with them, lest he become grievous unto thee. They were made grievous unto Jacob. Jacob was like, man, what are y'all doing? He was upset with them. It says, for he would do according to his own will. They did according to their own will. And thou shalt perish with him through his folly. They have folly in doing what they did. Right? That was their own will, and that was their folly. And that's what it's talking about. That's what it was talking about. Okay? Let's go back now. All right? So that's what that's talking about. And if you go back and you look at their response, even though they did what they did, they still wasn't humble. They told their father, well, should we make our sister a harlot? You know? And this is why they getting this judgment right here. So it says, Simeon and Levi are brethren, instruments of cruelty are in their habitations. That cruelty, we just got multiple precepts showing you that what they did to Shechem, that was the cruelty. That was the man that they slew. All right. They didn't go get counsel. And that's a wicked thing in the eyes of the Most High. It says, O my soul, come not thou into their secret, unto their assembly. My honor be not thou united. For in their anger, see, so he cursed them. He said, man, they not honored, man. It says, for in their anger, they slew a man, and in their safe will, they dig down a wall. So Jacob didn't forget that. Jacob was like, nah, I'm hot at that. So y'all got to get a judgment for that. This ain't dealing with voodoo. All right. Cursed be their anger, for it was fierce, and their wrath, for it was cruel. I would divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel. So what they did was cruel. You can write down James 1 and 19. All right. Slow to anger. Scriptures tell us to be slow to anger, right? All right, so write that down. James 1:19. All right. So now what does it mean by they were scattered? He was scattered them in Israel. Does it mean that the two islands of where the Dominicans and the Dominicans and the Haitians are? Absolutely not. We're going to show you through the scriptures what that means. So let's get Joshua. Yeah, do I want Joshua? Yeah, I want Joshua. All right, so this is true understanding, brothers. The chart is trash, man. It's just the truth. All it is emotions and how you feel. We're not dealing with that. We're dealing with precepts. And furthermore, you cannot prove who you are by saying where we're at in the land of our captivity and use scriptures that misappropriate scriptures that have nothing to do, absolutely nothing to do with the narrative we're painting with the scriptures. That is dangerous. That is very dangerous. Brothers got to be careful with that. All right, let's get what this is talking about. What, did I get the right one? Hold on. Hold on, let's see. Hold on. Let's see if that's the one I want. Hold on, brothers. Yeah, that's what I want. Let me see. It's not coming up. Oh, maybe I missed let's put it in. All right, I got it. 19 and 1. All right, here we go. Joshua 19 and 1. All right. So what does it mean that they were scattered? All right. What does it mean that they were scattered? Do I want Joshua? Actually, I want 14 and 1 first. Let's get 14 and 1 first. 14 and yeah, 1. All right, here it is. And we're going to read 1 through 5. It says, and these are the countries which the children of Israel inherited in the land of Canaan, which Eleazar the priest and Joshua the son of Nun and the heads of the fathers of the tribes of the children of Israel distributed for inheritance to them. But Lot was their inheritance, as the Lord commanded by the hand of Moses for the 9 tribes. By Lot, was their inheritance, as the Lord commanded by the hand of Moses for the 9 tribes and for the half tribe, right? It says, for Moses had given the inheritance of the 2 tribes and a half tribe on the other side of Jordan. So this is talking about Ephraim and Manasseh. But unto the Levites he gave none inheritance among them. For the children of Joseph were 2 tribes, Manasseh and Ephraim. Therefore they gave no part unto the Levites. So the Levites didn't have a particular land. That's why you go to the map of Israel. All right, let's get that real quick. Let's get that. Let's get a map of Israel. Let's see. Here it is. All right, let's see. Which one do I want? Let's see which is a good one. Yeah, here it is right here. Here's a good one. All right. Let's see. Let me see if I can get a better one in there. Yeah. All right, here it is. This is a good one. All right. So when you look at this, you see Judah, you see Reuben, you see Gad, right? You see all the tribes, you see Manasseh, but there's not a tribe or a landmass, right, or area inheritance for the Levites. Okay, you don't see it. Why? Because it goes back to that in Genesis 49 that the Levites in verse 4 for the children of Joseph were two tribes, Manasseh and Ephraim. Therefore they gave no part unto the Levites in the land, save cities to dwell in, with their suburbs for their cattle and for their substance. You see that? So they lived in suburbs. All right, they dwelled in suburbs. The Levitical priesthood dwelt in suburbs in every single nation of Israel. So in every single nation of Israel, they had a suburb. Levi had a suburb within every single nation, province in Israel, from Manasseh to Gad to Reuben, right? They had a suburb there. Okay, they dwelt in suburbs, and the reason for that also is because since they were the Levites, you know, it'd be they had to dwell in every nation because they had to be the ones giving the oblations, giving the sacrifices, and ministering in the temple. All right. So in every nation, they could go to Levites that dwelt in suburbs within every nation, right? So they can offer whatever offerings they needed to offer. Okay. So they didn't have that. They had suburbs. All right. So now let's get. So we got Levi, but let's get Simeon. Well, what about Simeon? How was he scattered? Let's go through the precepts. And I want 19 and 1. Okay. And the second lot came forth to Simeon, even for the tribe of the children of Simeon according to their families. And their inheritance was within the inheritance of the children of Judah. So see that? Their inheritance was within the inheritance of the children of Judah. So they had to dwell within in Judah. See that? So the Levites were scattered all over, and Simeon didn't have his own portion of land. He had to dwell within side of Judah. Okay? And that all goes back. Let's go back to Genesis 49 in verse 7. Cursed be their anger, for it was fierce, and their wrath, for it was cruel. I would divide them in Jacob. See, so they were divided, right? So Levi, and scattered them in Israel. So Levi was scattered all over Israel, and Simeon had to divide his land within the borders of Judah. See that? That's what that's talking about. That's not talking about no islands over here in the Americas. All right? That is not what that is talking about. Okay, so brothers got to go and do their homework. All right, brothers got to go and do their homework. All right, and stop the narratives of, just because we have a favorite teacher or whatnot, right? And we like brothers, and we with the accuracy, okay, of what everything is. All right, and deal with what the scriptures say. So this is why we don't take part in the 12 tribes chart. All right, now that's part 1. Okay, that's part 1. We're going to go into part 2 at a later time. All right, but that is part 1, and then we'll go into part 2. I'm gonna break it all the way down from Reuben all the way to Judah to everybody. We're gonna break it down precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little. Okay, it's not just good to say, oh, and you know what, another point I forgot to bring out, seeing that Simeon was amongst Judah, it's safe to say that, okay, well then that means that Judah and Simeon, Simeon, some scattered people from the tribe of Simeon were in the tribe of Judah. So how can you say who's Simeon or not when you don't know if during the whole scattering process of some of the people, the Semites, not Semites, some of the brothers from Simeon or the tribes from Simeon didn't stay within the borders of Judah during that time, right? Can't say that. All right, we can't say that didn't happen. None of that. So that's the first breakdown of why. But we're gonna break it all the way down. We're even gonna touch on Deuteronomy 33. We're gonna get the understanding of Deuteronomy 33 too. All right. So brothers, man, take that information. All right, and appreciate everybody for tuning in. Okay, and we're gonna go deep into it. Okay, I have a beautiful night. And love y'all. and study to show yourself approved. All right. But we're going to go into the wrong breakdown of Genesis 49. Then we're going to get into the correct breakdown of Genesis 49. All right. With the precepts of the Mashiach. Shalom, family. Have a blessed night. Continue to stay faithful in the spirit. Shalom, family.